Yeah, usually we put
Oh, the ear.
it's like
Yeah.
It's the Harinama microphone. Something happened to our normal one right now. I don't understand. Usually we would have a microphone, but something happened to it. Either it's broken or something like that.
Okay. So can we have a little, chanting for 5 minutes?
Okay.
Yeah, I can just sing like that. Jaya Radha Madhava Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Krishna Vallabha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manchakalpatrubhyasya Kripasindubhyasya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namaha Hare Krishna. Very happy to be here in this beautiful village in the middle of Lithuania. It's so beautiful. And I heard there's about 12 families here, living in this beautiful farm. So I'm here to present a seminar today, and I don't know, somebody may have already told you, but we're going to divide the seminar into three parts. The first part today, which we will cover, is based on ISKCON motto. Is that okay?
I guess we will regulate it once.
Yeah. The first part is based on ISKCON's motto. Books are the basis. The second, purity is the force. The second part is based on ISKCON motto. Books are the basis. And the third part of the seminar will be based on preaching is the end. And all three of these topics will relate to how we can raise our children according to these three principles. Okay. So purity is the force. In this section, we will cover the home environment, what we can do to make a home conducive to our children's Krishna consciousness, what we should do inside the home, how we should set up the home. Okay, so this is a beautiful quote. Somebody would like to read this quote? You can read in Lithuanian?
I'm not Lithuanian, but maybe you could.
Oh, just read it. Yeah, love.
Aukščiausią lygio išsilavinimą vaikams suteiksime ugdydami ir skatindami jų polinkį mylėti Krishną. Tuomet jie bus pasiruošę patirti, kad ir ko beprašytumėte. Vedriškoji malonė, tai ačiū Bhaktivedanta Swami.
So here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that if we raise our children to be devotees, nice devotees, that is the topmost education. It's not like, we have to make them devotees and then we have to also take care of their academic side. Making them devotees means we are educating them. Because Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual. And so therefore when we learn to love Krishna, then all the material and spiritual attributes will come. So, because all these qualities, because everything material comes from the spiritual, it's not the other way around. Right? So all these qualities, all these opulences that we want to see in our children, they automatically come when we make them devotees. So these are the qualities that demigods possess, and we want these qualities for our children, right? And they come automatically when we make them devotees, because everything material is a servant of the spiritual. And these material qualities are waiting at the door of the devotee, waiting for the devotee to accept them. Right? So this is one thing, is that making them Krishna consciousness should be the lifestyle. And within that, we should do whatever is needed. Okay. let's talk a few minutes about the vision of Srila Prabhupada for our children. Srila Prabhupada, he stressed three things. One was book distribution. He wanted book distribution. Second was deity worship. And the third was Gurukula. Gurukula was very high on Prabhupada's priorities because he said that these children, they are not ordinary children. They are born in devotee families, so obviously they've done a lot of good devotional service in their past life. And they are just here just to finish their last life and to go back to God. So in other words, the parents have a very big responsibility for that. Even for people like me who, initially, of course I've lived in America for 40 years, but I was born and raised in India, And even for us who grew up, as vegetarian and all that, we never grew up chanting the holy name, like today children are growing up. So it's a very powerful process what Prabhupada was giving us. And he said in one of the quotes, he said, if we raise a generation of good Vaishnavas, that would be the glory of our movement, and that would be the glory of our country as well. And he said that if we lose even one Vaishnava, that's a very great loss. Because what our children can do for the movement is a lot more than what we can offer. Because they're growing up in Krishna consciousness from day one, imagine. And Prabhupada gave the examples of all the different acharyas in Srimad Bhagavata, how they grew up in devotional environment and how powerful they became, right? We were playing with Krishna dolls and growing up, and so we are trying to do that same thing, for our children. And for such children, Prabhupada says, he quoted Srila Jiva Goswami as saying that every child can become a Parikshit, he said. He said, there's one Parikshit, but every child can become a Parikshit if the parents so desire. This is what Jiva Goswami said. So in other words, even though they may not be so fortunate as to see the Lord within their mother's womb, but they can be made fortunate. If we, in other words, if the parents so desire. So in other words, Prabhupada had such, high hopes for these children. So in other words, the process is so powerful that it can turn a child into Parikshit. That's what he's saying. And when Prabhupada is saying, he's not just exaggerating, right? Like we heard the passing away of His Holiness Kadam Swami, as you heard, And when you look at the way, not only the way he lived, but the way he left his body, it's amazing, right? Very much similar to Parikshit Maharaj leaving his body, right? Stopped eating and drinking for at least a week, and completely immersed in the holy name, and his whole life. Even in his last message, he was giving the story of Parikshit Maharaj. He really, that's what inspired him. That story that inspired him, and you could see his last message was about Parikshit Maharaj meeting Kali, right? And how he dealt with Kali. So he was like a fighter, a soldier, right? And you see the similarities, So this process is so powerful that it can turn out people like that. We had a living example, And what to speak about our children? What to speak about our children who are growing up in devotional atmosphere from day one. Isn't it? We never got that opportunity, but still, even though we never got that opportunity, but still, even in this generation and the one previous, Prabhupada's, when Prabhupada was here, we had so many great saintly souls, right? So Prabhupada said that these are very great blessings. There are two blessings. One is to have a spiritual master, and the other one is to be born in a devotee family. Prabhupada said there's two blessings. Okay. So the second blessing along with the first, is so meaningful, so powerful. So we are entrusted with a very great responsibility, of raising our children. So just to understand Prabhupada's vision for our children, why it was so high and what he expected, and what he really wanted from our children is exemplary character training. He was not looking for good scholarship and good, it's good, it's okay. But what he was really looking for is character, good character in children. Because you can see that's what's lacking in society today, right? In America, there's no limitation of money, right? There's so much wealth, and people are getting educated as well, But it doesn't mean that education and money gives good character. There's no guarantee at all. In fact, it may do the other way around, right? But Vedic education is different. In Vedic education, the emphasis is character training. Even 50 years ago, in India, very rich, influential people were sending their children to Gurukula. It's not like only during the Vedic times this was happening. Just 50 years ago, this was happening. There were a lot of Gurukulas and people, very influential people, who had every facility to keep the children at home. They were sending them. And the reason is because they wanted them to learn good character, self-control, mercy, forgiveness. But now it's kind of changing, All the Gurukulas have degraded. Although ISKCON has some nice Gurukulas, but in general there were a lot of Gurukulas and they've all degraded and gone away, right? So what to do? Now that there's no Gurukulas, there's very few. If there are some, there are not that many. It may be too far away, said that case. We may not want to do it. So what do? So Prabhupada said, okay, then you make your home into ashram, kula, and Guru is the parents. Of course, we do some adjustments because family life is not like living in a Gurukula, There's some adjustments. Everybody can understand. Am I speaking slow enough? I can get slower. If you want, I can go slower. Okay. So we can raise our children with some adjustments with that concept. Because it's not possible to send them to Gurukula for a lot of us, right? And this is what personally I tried. I tried to do that because I tried to send them to a Gurukula, but it just didn't work out. It was just too far away. And somehow I even took them there to let them be there, but somehow it didn't work out. And also we needed them. We started a small center in a very remote place in America. It was called Boise, Idaho, and there wasn't any devotees there. We were going in without any association there. So we started a center, and so we needed the children, because otherwise it would be just me and my husband, and that would be hard. We needed the kids to help us and do things. There's more, activity and fun. So, when the children when they turned 5, that's when you start worrying about formal schooling, right? Where they're going to go to school. And so we tried private school for 2 years. And somehow or the other, I was very disappointed, with school. And there were many reasons, both academically and, morally, values. I was disappointed in both ways, even though it was a very expensive school, but, a lot of disappointments, Generally, schools are meant for the average. I'm not promoting homeschooling here because it may not work out for everybody. But I'm just giving you a little bit of my experience, how I came to this point of, teaching my own children at home, and also how I came to this point of teaching them from Srila Prabhupada's books. It's just my little story, but for many of you, homeschooling may not be an option. So that's understood, right? The idea is that whatever I speak in this seminar, the idea is the principles will remain the same, whether you're homeschooling or not homeschooling. Obviously, my experience has been homeschooling is a very wonderful option, but it doesn't work out for everybody. So like I said, I was disappointed because I would go and sit in their classes, to see what's going on, and even academically, they were not challenged enough. Schools are generally meant for the average. If your children are above average, and basically they are, not challenged enough. And if they are below average, then they feel frustrated. So because there's so many kids in one class, what can the teacher do? How many children can you privately do that? The old system, even just 50 years ago, even in America, the system of education was not what you see today. It's not what you see today, It wasn't that one school with 30, 40 kids with one teacher. This is totally a new concept. Because generally, before 50 years, the concept was a smaller, a room with about 10 children of different ages and one teacher. So in other words, it was, or even less, it was more the tutorial system, we call it. And even that system of education is being done today in prestigious universities like Cambridge and Oxford. They don't have classrooms, they have this tutorial system. And it's a very effective way of teaching. It's very powerful. So this is what used to be the Vedic model. But things changed, and now we think that unless a child goes to school and with 20, 30 other kids of the same age, basically, and if the child is not educated, we cannot think beyond it. I mean, this is school, this is how they are educated. But this is not the old concept. A better way to educate them is to put them with children of different ages, the older concept. So anyway, so this is what we have today. And of course, the old system used to be also interactive between the teacher. The tutorial system is also very interactive. Teacher very interactive. Now, huh? Yeah, like back and forth. Like the discussion with the sages. In Navashrana, it's a discussion, right? This is a very, very, very effective way of teaching. It really sharpens the intellect and all that. So anyway, so I didn't know all that. I mean, maybe when they were going to school, I was just checking out the school, and also morally, needless to say, I was disappointed. Just the values and all that. We were quite aware. It's quite, one time my younger one was in school. I changed school thinking there maybe a better school with, there was a 7-day Adventist school was supposed to be vegetarians and all that, but I found out they were not. And one day my son came home and said the whole day the teacher spent the whole day trying to teach good behavior because the children were so badly behaved. The whole day was lost just because of a couple of children, So, because nowadays schools are secular institutions, you can't talk about God, right? In no concept, like that. So what do you expect? Good character comes from being God-centered, of the process of hearing and chanting. Without that, how can you expect any good character? So anyway, so these were two my experiences, and we were dissatisfied, and we pulled it. Then we started looking for alternative ways of educating them, and then we came upon this concept of homeschooling, which is very popular in America. So mostly they are Christian families who want to share their values to their children, they know. And so I got into that, and I started checking out and going to some support groups and all that. And then, but of course I wanted to teach them the Vedic way, what Prabhupada desired from us. So I bought a curriculum. In America you can buy a curriculum for the whole year and just teach from that. They send you all the books and everything. So I did that. And I was very scared. We both were very nervous because how can you do that? It's unheard of, right? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to teach them for 3 months in summer And if they do well, good, I'll continue with home education. And if they don't do well, they can go back to school. No loss. Because in America we have 3 months off summer. So it was a safe way to do it because we were very nervous. And so in 3 months, I started teaching them. I was teaching them 2 hours a day, basically. They were little, they were like, 6 and 8, like that. And to my surprise, in 3 months, they finished the entire year's curriculum. Everything. Everything. Because it's not difficult, when you're doing one-to-one, it's quality time you're spending. And it was like 2 hours a day or something. And I thought, well, this is not too bad. And so I continued, but then I got very dissatisfied with the curriculum that I got because they were kind of stuck to it. Like if you're ahead in one subject, you still have to use the same level books and all that. But that's what, and in America, you can do your own curriculum. They are quite free with everything. Yeah, as long as there's no requirement for homeschoolers other than examinations, and that too is optional.
Curriculum is like a schooling program for a year?
Yeah, for a whole year, yeah. So I started teaching Srila Prabhupada's books, Krishna especially. And the reason it was because I had a great desire to read his books. And so the best way to read his books is to teach your own children. This is how I studied Prabhupada's books, is by teaching my own children. So when I was teaching them, they were doing it for the first time, and I was also doing it for the first time. So this was something. And we were always so inspired, high, because when you're reading Srila Prabhupada's books and you're doing devotional activities all day, it's just so, you become so happy. And that's what we all remember from the homeschool. Of course, we had our struggles and all that, but if you ask my children what did they study, they can't remember what they studied. It was more like Krishna consciousness activities all day, and the theory part was Srimad Bhagavatam, and the rest was so many things. We would, that's the first thing, we did a morning program, and then we studied Srimad Bhagavatam together in the formal discussion. All this I'll talk later. And then we would go out and try to apply those things. But we didn't know we were applying, but basically we were going out preaching activities, book tables, and prashadam tables, and school programs. So a lot of outdoor things, a lot of extracurricular activities were there. And so like that, and in the afternoon they'd do some math, some mathematics. So I'll tell you why these two subjects are the most important, and everything else can kind of wait, but can wait. So, and this way I saw that in about 5-6 years. Just in a year or two, I saw the difference. I was thinking, wow, this process is working. It's actually working. They seem to be, getting their vocabulary and their language ability seems to be up to standard, and they look happy and motivated. So I was thinking, wow, this process is working, and I continued like that. So basically, that's my little story of how I happened to, raise them as devotees, both academically and practically. Okay, now we'll cover the first part. The purity is the force. So we'll talk about first what are the things we should do and what we shouldn't do, right? Like for devotees, we need to chant 16 rounds, but then there's so many things we shouldn't do, right? No meeting, no this and that, like that. So there's always the do's and there's always the don'ts. So we'll do the don'ts first, okay? And that's, avoiding screen time, too much screen time. Limiting internet. Why? Because, it breaks all those principles that we're trying to follow naturally, all the 4 things that we are trying to avoid, those very things children are exposed to when they watch television. So the work becomes harder, isn't it? You're trying to do these things, but at the same time you're exposing yourself. And the way this medium works is so powerful. You may tell yourself that actually I'm a devotee and I don't get affected. I'm just doing it for entertainment. What's the harm? But the thing is that the medium is so powerful that it will have its effect. It will have its effect. If they say if you see anything for so many days, it becomes, you get sold on it. They've done research that when they advertise for products, if you show them this many times, the person buys into it. It's very powerful medium, right? So the first thing is that there's two problems with this, with the screen time. Okay, there's two problems. One is the content, and we all know that the content is not good because it breaks all the principles. Some people say, well, what about the good shows? There's some good shows in America also. The Discovery Channel and all that, right? Educational channel. But the problem with that is it comes with tons of commercials, right? And also, the whole medium is so addictive that you get addicted to it. So a little bit of screen time leads to more and more and more screen time. And very soon, it's very hard to stop. Right? I'm sure you experienced it. You put a little phone in front of the babies, children, really small children, and it's just like, and if you hear them crying when you take it away, that scream is very different from other screams. It's like this intense scream, because it does something, it's this addictive quality. It's very hard to take your eyes off a screen. So it's that part also that you can't stop looking at it. You turn it for 10 minutes and it'll turn into 1 hour, and then turn into 2 hours, because it's very addictive. So that's the problem. And the second is the medium, that the way this screen these shows are presented, there is no interaction between, it's a one-sided transmission from the box to the brain. In other words, there's no interaction. So what happens, they've done research that during the time a person watches the screen, the brain activity is zero. Because it's a one-way download. Right? So what happens, it destroys all the creativity in a child. And the brain becomes mentally lazy. And that is why they've done research that the math skills and reading skills are going down among children. Because they spend a lot of time in front of the screen. A lot of time. Okay. So, because the mode is passive, it's not active, it's passive learning, right? For example, if you read a book, okay, so first of all you have to decode the words, right? Then you have to create a picture in your mind. Oh, this is what's happening. Suppose there's a police chasing somebody, criminal or whatever. You have to imagine it, right? So your brain is active. A beautiful forest scene or something. So, there's so much creativity when you read a book. Even when you hear, you may not see, you have to worry about the words, but still, you're only hearing, it's not visual. You still have to imagine. Even hearing is, hearing on radio is a lot better. But imagine when you're reading a book, you have everything there. So when you're watching television or something, there's no need for it. Everything that's given, you take it in, right? So for a child, it's very, very harmful because it becomes a reality. This is, in his little brain, this is how life is. This is how life is, okay? So it's very, and now, of course, they're doing all kinds of research where they say that it permanently damages the brain. It rewires the brain. And especially if it starts early, that children watch early in their life, then it's more dangerous because it permanently rewires the brain and you can't reverse that. At least as adults, if you begin this, it's still a little better. So you can imagine it's very, very harmful and they've done research, it reduces the productivity. And you know how internet addiction is, most people are addicted, especially teenagers. 90% of children over 12 are addicted to the internet, and they go online every day, and the social media where young people are making, they make their identity as to who they are through the internet, isn't it? Like, there were days, in the early days, a child would come to a parent and ask, "Oh, how am I looking? Am I looking nice, mom?" And the mom said, "Yeah, you're looking so nice, whatever." Now they don't seek approval from their parents. Where is their approval coming from? Social media. And that's not the real world. It's not a real world, right? It's through machines, right? So what happens is, that's why you see a lot of people now, suicide among young people. In America, among schools, every year the suicide rate is going up, and they've attributed it to social media because the approval from friends in social media is so intense that they go through a lot of depression and disappointments, through social media. So, in other words, I'm sure all of you are aware. I'm coming from a generation where I had to educate myself, about these things, because we never had these things. But for many parents, even in this generation, it's hard to believe how fast life is changing, how fast it is changing. And we have to be very educated about these things, things like, pornography, getting into sexual association for the children. It's so easy. You can't control it. Television, at least you can turn it off, There's some channels you can, restrict and all that. But in internet, there's no way to there's no sure way to do anything like that. Very difficult. So this one show in America, TED Talks. I don't know if you've seen that TED shows. And he does a lot of good stuff, and he puts out a lot of information on educating the parents. And he's done a lot of interviews for young children, for teenagers, and they give their experience with, their involvement in social media, and they said, this is like, there's one child who said, everything evil came to my doorstep as soon as my parents handed me the phone.
Well, sorry, you can repeat?
Everything evil. Evil.
So quickly.
Yeah.
Something for
Okay, so I need to go slower. Yeah, I have to just remind me, okay, because I'm so used to going back. Yeah, so in other words, so young people are realizing that they're facing so many problems because of their parents handed them the smartphone early in their life. And they're going through a lot of problems, They've contemplated suicide, depression, you name it. And because, you have access to everything, so early in life, right? A time when a child, and you lose all your childhood, the innocence, the childhood, is gone. And it's too late. It's too late. So what I'm saying is that that's why this is so important. This topic is so important because, I know families who have understood the dangers of this and they just don't give it, Because now we just even hand them to babies, to children because we need to do something very important or something and we hand them without thinking that how bad it is. And I know life is very tough and there's no help and all that used to be there, for young parents. It's hard. But the point is, we just have to pretend as though it's not there because, and try to engage them in other ways, other more constructive ways rather than give that thing to them. So,
some question possible about this topic?
yeah, I can either finish this topic or should I We can open up for questions now if you think you'll forget the questions.
Okay, no problem.
No? Okay. Or you can write it down or something. Yeah. But I know this topic really generates a lot of questions. So, okay, now the question is that how can we not give them? How can we not give them access to the internet? It's just, in today's world, it's not possible, right? Even in schools, when children go to schools, they hand them, they give homework that you have to check, look up in the internet, Google, and all that, right? How do you avoid that? So obviously we cannot live in the Stone Age, We have to live in today's world. So the way we deal with it is that we use it for the purpose. Use it like a tool, We use it like a tool. For example, if you have a hammer, then you use it for hammering, right? And then you keep it away. You don't carry the hammer everywhere, right? You don't have a relationship with the hammer. You use it for the purpose it's meant for, and you keep it away. Same thing with internet. You use it for the purpose for which it's meant, and then you keep it away. And what do we use it for? Mostly, it's emails. Doing emails and looking up information, looking up statistics, and then you turn it off. Don't keep it in always mode. And this is very good. As parents, we have to first set that example. Right? If we are all the time on a phone, then what is the message we're giving to our children? So we have to discipline ourselves. Very important, that part. Okay? And then we do that. Okay? So this is one solution of how to go about this. So we learned it. This is a very big problem. I know because I do seminars everywhere, and I was in India some time ago, and parents were, especially with COVID, things became really bad, right? Because the online schooling became very popular, and children were stuck at home, and so things became really bad after that, and during the seminar, there were parents who were like desperate because the children were already addicted, and they were just addicted. They lost interest in devotional life, in wholesome relationships, community relationships. It was always being glued to their phones, and there were some who were they feared that their child had gone on pornography sites and didn't know how to stop it, and this was happening in India, So I'm saying, this is a reality right now. And these are people who really are devotee parents who really care about their children. So it's not like they are neglecting their children, right? Okay. So these are some of the things that we should do, right? Some of the things that we can do and should do. And this is the first thing, is the morning program. So the morning program is very important because Srila Prabhupada, he didn't suggest any austerities for our children. Any austerities. They said in terms of food or in terms of playtime, he said they can play as much as they like, they can eat as much as they like. But there's one austerity he did recommend for our children, and that is a morning program. To wake up early and do a morning program. Right? In Gurukula, if you go to any Gurukula, they wake up very early. So, because he said that this tapasya, this austerity was very important. And the reason is because when the child, including ourselves, we start the day thinking and remembering the Lord. And so when we are chanting the holy name of the Lord, we kind of set the day in the right way. The morning program, remembering, chanting, dancing, it becomes like a shield, for us. And so that for the man, if he is going out to work, or for the woman, it becomes like an armor where she or he is protected, right, from the worldly things. Same thing with children. It also, it also helps them with their, It also helps them with their misbehavior problems. If the children are misbehaved, the morning program really helps. in making their minds peaceful. Believe it or not, it is so powerful. I mean, they're still naughty. It's not like children won't be naughty. That's who they are. But the way they are naughty is really different. Different types of naughtiness, right? It's just like Krishna was also naughty, right? So it's naughty in a transcendental way. It's different. So these things are very, very important. These basic things that Prabhupada said. And you see hundreds of quotes by Srila Prabhupada to the teachers, to the parents, emphasizing the importance of children getting up in the morning and doing a morning program. And all the instructions are there. You know, when I started writing this book, I started checking, you know, what Krishna Prabhupada had said about their children, and it was limitless. It was like so much was there. Every bit of the way. Any instruction you're looking for, Srila Prabhupada has actually spoken about it. He's talked about it. So everything is there. And if you apply that, definitely you're going to be successful. So that's one thing, is the morning program and japa. Japa also is very important for our children, but we have to be very careful about introducing japa. Prabhupada, you hear what, you know, his quotes are very powerful, where one time he told the teachers that japa should not be used as punishment or as a reward, especially punishment, because it's like you don't say that you've been a bad boy today, so go and chant 2 rounds. Yeah, you know, and or you know, some kind of like punishment, like this is how. So it gives the wrong message, right? In fact, you know, when we gave a seminar in Chowpatty, Bombay, His Holiness Radha Swami's temple. So there were so many brahmacharis in the city, in the audience, sitting and hearing, and they thought this was very valuable in their own brahmachari ashram. You know, when they're recruiting new people, you know, maybe they were not applying it right, you know, in terms of getting them to do job, or maybe they were just, you know, using it as a punishment, and they thought it was very valuable. They hadn't checked out what Prabhupada had said. He was very good. One time, another time in the Gurukul, small children, the beads were taken away from them during chanting japa time, and Prabhupada really said, what? Why the beads? Well, he was told that they were disrespecting the beads. He was disrespecting the beads. Right? They were. And Prabhupada said, well, no, you don't take it away, you train them. Don't take away the beads. You see, so both ways you can see, you know, how Prabhupada was. He wanted us to encourage our children, but also not use it as a punishment. Right? So what do? The best way to introduce japa to our children is to actually chant with them. You know, because what happens is when they're left alone to chant, then they develop bad habits, and they think, oh, they may cheat and say, I've done my rounds or something, and they don't really have it. So if you have 16 rounds, surely you can do a few rounds with them. You know? And this way they get encouraged, and you can, you know, encourage them and say nice things and like that. So that's one way. Another way to encourage japa is to do it as a community. You do it together with everybody and invite your children. So they feel like, wow, this is fun. We all are chanting together. Maybe every Ekadashi you can do that. You know? Yeah. We used to do that in Boise, in our town, in our temple, and children would come and they would all sit with the parents and we would chant together. And children, you know, end up getting, you know, chanting a few rounds, quite a few rounds. The other thing we introduced was a japathon, we called it. Once a year, on New Year's Eve, we chanted many rounds to help every citizen in the state in their name, you know, one name for every citizen like that. And then we had a chart board where you wrote the number of rounds that you chanted, right? And children were participating. And it was amazing. They were so motivated. The children were chanting 40 rounds, 60 rounds, 30. So it kind of gives a very positive image, it gets them into chanting japa. So you can find these kind of positive things, encouraging things, so that children see japa as something wonderful, not as something like a punishment, like, oh my God. None of the kids want to chant japa, right? And sometimes you want to wait. Sometimes, okay, the kids are too small. In ISKCON they also sell in the gift store, they have these little malas, which has got like 20 beads or something for kids. So they finish their mala and they say, oh, I chanted 1 round. But it's got only like 20 beads. So they're feeling good. So these are ways to encourage them that they've chanted something. They will come and tell you very seriously, I chanted 10 rounds today, So, like that. Okay. Prashad. So again, basic things Srila Prabhupada gave, but very important in their spiritual advancement. Because, how food, you take it in the mouth, from the mouth, and it hits the soul. Really, directly hits the soul. It's so important. We know that food, what we eat, affects our consciousness, right? It affects our consciousness. We are what we eat. And it's a very powerful weapon to subdue misbehavior also. Just like, Prabhupada gave the example of how do you subdue a tiger when they have to catch a tiger and put them in the zoo. They do it through food. And that's how they do it. It's giving them food. Whoever gives them food can control them like that. So the same principle works for all of us, for children also. That's by giving them prasadam, we kind of subdue their bad side. So Lord Chaitanya also talked about the importance, that the difference when we eat food cooked by a materialist, the type of effect it has on the consciousness. It's very, very powerful. So we should try to introduce that in our children's lives. And children need a lot of variety because their senses, they experience everything through the tongue. So that when they're little, they need a lot of variety. But as they get older, they don't need so much, right? Because other interests take over. Right? So the beginning is a little tough because you have to cook and constantly think of different varieties to give them. And that is the only way to stop them from eating from outside, Otherwise, they are always attracted to what somebody else is eating, right? It becomes very tough. So that's one thing. Of course, there's very practical challenges to that. You're invited to a school party, right? What do you do? And in the school, there's a birthday party and everybody's eating and, what does your child feel like, right? Being not able to eat with like others. What do you do, So, I remember when we were going to school for 2 years, I was constantly running back and forth, with cookies and cakes and all types of things because I had to send my thing which had no eggs, otherwise everything that they had would be eggs, right? So that becomes very important. You have to do it, And when we were invited to parties that we had to attend, then we would take our own food, but for everybody. Everybody gets prasadam. So a whole big pot of pakoras or a big pot, two things that always worked was a pot of pakoras and a pot of rice, biryani, two things. Anybody would eat and you fill up on that, nobody even notices, right? Even if they did notice, it's okay. Ultimately they understand that this is who we are, and the way we would present it to them is that we don't eat food that's cooked in a kitchen that cooks meat. We have this refrain. It's not, if you say you're just vegetarians, it doesn't work. Why? Because they say, you come to my home and I promise you I'm going to cook vegetarian. And they put food in front of them and say, I promise you, it has nothing. But because they don't understand fully, they put something on the other way, which is not proper, right? So if you say that you don't eat food in a kitchen that cooks meat, that's simple. And at least, I don't know about here, but in America they respect that. And they respect you for that, that you have your own individuality and this is what you believe in. But so our experience as a family has been that you always be consistent in what you're saying. They don't change it. One time you say I can eat, the next time you say I cannot eat. So you be consistent. And you give that training to your children. And believe me, the children are not such a problem as much as the parents. We as parents, we become weak. We feel sorry for the children. Kind of a misplaced compassion, But we feel sorry for them. Oh, they're not getting to eat like the other kids. They must be feeling left out. But my experience has been that children become very strong because if they have the support of their parents, and they need constant reminders. They go, they become weak. You have to remind them again. You have to remind them again. And the way you remind them is not just by telling them, but you remind them through Shastra. That's why the second part is also very important. Books are the basis. How you feed the intelligence through philosophy. Given to them in a child-friendly way. Obviously, they're not reading like adults, But yet, they have to do it. And that's why Shastra is so important for children also. So you kind of do both. Feeding the intelligence and feeding the body. Like that. So both together. And you'll see how this whole package comes together. All these three things have to come together. If you do one, it doesn't work like that. Sorry, I have to check the translation here. Okay, good association, yeah. So this is, I'm going to go very quickly through this one because everybody understands the importance of good association. For children, it means our own association as parents. It means association of other senior devotees and other devotees, and association of sannyasis, gurus, who give a very good example, and then association through great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam. Very powerful also. So when they read these books, they are associating with these people, right? So all this association, when we give, because children, they mimic. They become whoever you put in front of them. In other words, the role models that you put in front of the children, you can pretty much predict that's what they're going to be in the future. And in between, they may get shaky and distracted, but they'll come back to it. That's why these early years of a child's life, and I see so many little children here, the early years of a child's life is very, very important. We think, oh, it doesn't matter, they're so little. And that's why in America they put them in front of the television and all that, because they think, what can go wrong? They're so little. How does it matter? But the first impressions are at that age. If you've ever been to school and you've learned nursery rhymes, you'll never forget that. Even when you get really old, you'll remember the nursery rhymes. You'll forget everything else maybe, but not the nursery rhymes. Why? Because they were given at the right time. When you give them early on, their memory is very sharp and they never forget these things. Even that's why sloka memorization and all these things. The earlier you give them, the more they retain, they'll never forget it. Right? So it's very important to give them good association, good examples, good role models. So important for children, role models. So that's why all of you are here in this farm community, is because you're giving them good role models. It's a wonderful way to raise children, is to be in an association. The whole environment is conducive automatically for you. But even then Maya creeps in, right? Smartphones and this and that, right? It's not like you can be free from it. It's like everywhere it comes in. Yeah. Okay, this is, what is it, festivals? What is it? No. Didi worship, yeah. worship very important for our children because they learn to see Krishna as a person. Just like they have a doll. They're not thinking it's a doll. They're thinking this is a person. Because they're feeding the doll, putting the doll to rest. Right? Same thing when they worship Krishna, the deity form of Krishna, they're thinking Krishna is a person. And they relate with that. They want to relate with Krishna and serve Krishna. Right? That's why you see when they have little dolls, Krishna dolls or something, they're putting them to rest. And it's very, very important. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one book, Dharma, he said children who are raised in environments where there's no form of the Lord, where there's no deity worship, such children may become materialistic, atheistic. So therefore, deity worship is the foundation of religion for all humanity. Imagine. So, because see, the world is becoming so impersonal right now, right? Social media and all, everything is so impersonal, right? So, if you don't do it at this age, then later on it becomes harder to see Krishna as a person. It becomes much harder. And it becomes a very good foundation for good Vaishnava relationships. This becomes a good foundation. You know? And of course they can express their love for Krishna when they're worshiping deities, right? Offering them fruits and water and food. They're the ones who always worry about. You give them an apple, say, Mom, did you offer it? They're reminding you, right? They become very personal. They worry, is Krishna hot? Is Krishna cold? This is the kind of mood you want to develop in them. Right? They should see Krishna as a member of the family and think about Krishna, And they're the ones who come up with these things. Did you offer? Did you, appreciating? And they can be, when my children were 3 and 5 years old, we had golden deities that were 4 inches tall, very small. And they would spend time, worshiping them, bathing them. They were easy to manage, small. And they were bathing them, dressing them, and they spent like an hour and a half. Because children have to play. Right? They have to play. So this is a nice way to play. Of course, you teach them boundaries. You can ask them, did you wash your hand? You're teaching them the boundaries. Yes, Krishna is a person, he can, but he's still, there's a boundary. You can't become a cowherd boy and take food from your mouth and give it to Krishna. There's a boundary. They learn that. They know how to separate the two. It's very powerful, You teach them how to offer everything that comes in the house, the fruits and even the toys and whatever. Like everything belongs to Krishna. Right? So these simple things, but so powerful, so important. And this is already making us spiritually advanced. You can also have Krishna dolls, if they are not ready for deities, obviously they can have Krishna dolls and play with them and do things. Sometimes children are, like that. Okay, so very soon we will open it for questions and Krishna. Okay, so I've already covered this part, Prabhupada really, really stressed that if Krishna need to play, if children need to play, they should play Krishna games, remembering Krishna in their playtime. In other words, whether they're doing outdoor games or indoor games, whatever they're doing, it should be Krishna conscious. And it's easy to make it like that. You're playing with Lego and all that. Okay, what are you doing? Are you building a temple? Encourage them to think of Krishna. They have to be encouraged, right? So they've got a toys or whatever, then you encourage them. Let them pretend it's about Krishna. Okay? And that if they're going outdoors, then encourage them to become a cowherd boy or become a demon or whatever. Because see, these personalities are absolute. These personalities are absolute. So when they're playing these Krishna conscious games, they actually associate with Krishna. You know? So it has an effect on them. You know? And Prabhupada was not in favor of toys that agitated the mind, the electronic toys and all these kind of toys. He was not in favor because he said they agitate the mind. So he preferred games that were more wholesome, more natural. So like that, and Prabhupada has spoken widely on this also, the types of games they should play. He was not in favor of very highly competitive games. Highly competitive, like American football. You know, we have, it's very, very competitive. It's very violent also. You get really seriously hurt. You need a lot of practice. When if you join the football team, you have to practice like 3 times a week at least. So it takes away a lot of devotional time, you know, generally. So he wanted like, you know, nice sports, which are not so heavily competitive. You know. So, like swimming or wrestling, or kite flying or something like that. I have experience with that. We had a community of devotees, and there was one boy whose father was not a devotee, and so he said, "You have to join the American football team." And very soon, he was so exhausted, 3 times a week, and he became, discouraged about devotional life, and he had no time. So things like that happen. He likes everything. Okay. So this is the 5 R's I've talked about, that's important. That's the reading, writing, arithmetic. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Arithmetic is math. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Rote is memorization, and raga is music. So all the 5 R's we call it. And this is what I gave them. That's it. And the rest subjects came much later, when they turned 12 or something. Okay. Because if you make them strong in English, or whatever the language is, and in math, the language takes care of all the humanities, and the math becomes the basis for sciences. So if they want to go into sciences, strong math background will help very much. And if they want to be in humanities, do something like that, then language is very important. And so we had the Srimad Bhagavatam, so the language became strong through Srimad Bhagavatam, and I had a math book for them. Okay. Now language is so important, teaching them comprehension and all that is so important, language abilities, reasoning and critical thinking, all that is so important, that when you do that, it also helps in math. Strong language also helps in understanding math better. So in this way, it's the most important thing. And then music is always very good for the mind, and for, otherwise if you don't give them the Hare Krishna music, they'll end up doing some other music. Okay? So early on we want to do that. Give them a taste for kirtan and music, and so they are in the right lines. Right? Rote memorization, you do as much as you can. Okay, so we stop here, and this is the first section. So I'll open it for questions. If anyway you had a question on television, I think, or on screen time, or
Смотрите, вот такой вопрос возникает. Шрила Прабхупада учил нас быть отделенными от общества или быть лидерами в обществе. То есть какая субординация? Вот наши дети растут для закрытого нашего сообщества, или они должны потом будут адаптироваться или использовать достижения того общества, куда они войдут, вольются?
So basically, he's asking if Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be kind of to be the leaders of the society out there, or to be sort of like secluded inside and do the teaching inside, and also so that.
То есть мы должны быть маргинальными, больше отделенными
Do we have to be more separated out
большого
of, from the big social?
Или наши дети должны слиться, войти туда и слиться с тем обществом в будущем?
Or our children need to join that society in the future and become leaders for that, I guess.
Prabhupada said that's why he wanted to give good character training so that they can become leaders out there. He didn't say they could not become leaders. If they want to and they have the qualifications, they should become leaders. Why not? And we don't want to isolate our children from the mainstream, but we want to insulate them. That is, we want to do it in a protected way. We don't want to let them experience material life, because I homeschooled. They didn't even go to school, right? But they were not isolated. And that will come in the third part when I talk about the extracurricular activities. They were, like I said, they were always out there, but in a protected way. They weren't part of that social circle, but they were being exposed where they were over there and sharing Krishna consciousness with other people. And probably there's so many ways you can share Krishna consciousness, right? Out there. We were even doing prison programs once a month, going to prisons. I mean, which child in school is going to get these opportunities? Where would they get this kind of education, right? And what to speak, what goes on inside the temple, and the dramas and the plays and the festivals, it's like every day something or the other going on, right? So it's exposure. We're not putting them behind a wall. So why they cannot be leaders? Yes.
Это был начало вопроса.
That was just the beginning of the question, okay.
Насчет этих планшетов, там, гаджетов.
So about all the gadgets.
Вот смотрите, то есть ваш опыт, вот, что вы наблюдаете в мире, вы ездите, проповедуете.
So your experience while you're preaching and traveling around.
Вы видите, что молодые родители или вообще там мама и папа способны дать качественное внимание, чтобы соперничать с гаджетами, действительно реально. Вот смотри, гаджет, вот я могу создать себе такую среду, где будет интереснее, чем в гаджете.
Have you actually noticed that the parents can create the atmosphere for a child which can compete to the gadgets? Because, if you begin from the very beginning, it's okay not to give, not to show, put them away from that. But if they have already been exposed to this, how can you just be like, okay, now let's put this away, now look at me, I'm going to show you. They'd be like, no, I'm not interested.
And one more maybe in addition to that question, maybe because the very lifestyle of West, like running, working, and like too much, we should too much work to maintain ourselves, and that's why parents like kind of release from that running, giving gadgets and like saving few moments, like few minutes, just take a rest or whatever.
So,
our lifestyle is not fit maybe for practice.
Well, see, if you are, I don't quite understand what exactly is the question. In other words, if you...
Question is, can parents compete with the gadgets?
Can they compete with the gadgets?
Can they compete? Because gadgets is interesting, but you can create real life examples to,
Just think that even some years ago, these gadgets were not there. How were they competing? I mean, how were they managing kids? It's because there was so much interaction between the parents and the children.
That's why we're saying that it maybe was even easier before because there was no gadgets. And for the people who have already exposed the children to the gadgets, how is it possible to not compete with these machines?
One more thing, like the ruin, how to say, destroyed that grandfather, grandmother would took care of kids more like this.
Yeah, the extended family was there, right? But the thing is that if you hear the interviews that they have with these young people who've been exposed to gadgets and the experience and they wish they never had it, when you learn about these things, what Ted recommends, or these experts who've done so much research, is that it's never too late to take it away. It sounds it's never too late. You just have to take it away. That's how dangerous it is. You know, Steve Jobs, the owner of Apple, Steve Jobs, some journalist interviewed him and said, "Wow, you know, your children must be having the latest, Apple gadget." And he said, "What?" He says, "My children don't even have it. He doesn't even give it to his children." And in California, in which is like the top place for technology and all these things, Apple and all that. There's a school, 75% of the kids, they don't own a phone. And they are all children of these big executives who work for Apple. You see? So people who are in the industry, they know how harmful it is. And they don't give it to the children. The problem is that we haven't educated ourselves well enough to understand the negative side, how harmful it is. Once you educate yourself and you hear the things, actually they say it's never too late to take it away. And Prabhupada tells that at a certain age, between a certain age, like 10 to 15, where you cannot allow the children to make a mistake, it may be too late, right? You have to be strict with them. The certain age period is how you deal with children. After 16, they become your friends. You have to treat them like friends, okay? But then between 10 and 15, you have to be strict. Prabhupada said this is his words, you have to be strict as a tiger. As a tiger. So in other words, we are so scared because, we have to, parenting means, because they also get unconditional love from us. They're not just getting the strictness, the discipline. They're also getting, so both love and good training has to be there. You can't do just the love and not the training. You see? There has to be both love and fear, both. The children have to fear. They should have some fear from their parents. But there's so much love. And the kids know that. They can see that. But yet we're so scared of taking things away from them that is bad for them. Of course we sit and tell them. And we do whatever is needed. See? If you haven't given it, don't give it earlier. But if you have given it, you still have to work on taking it away.
So, okay, let's imagine the situation where we have a secluded community and everybody can agree that, okay, tomorrow, every mother and every father commits to taking away the phone and some computer games, for example. So, the kids like, oh, okay, let's say they're 10 years old or whatever, say, Mom, taking away the phone from me. My mom also takes it. So, okay, they're like, what are we going to do? Play. But now they go to school and all the other children, they have it. And they're playing. So isn't there going to be jealousy? Aren't they going to feel that we live in some weird world where we don't have anything allowed, and they will start dreaming about the time when, or other family even, like, I wish I would have that mom who gives me the phone. That can also happen. And my friend also, she has an older son, 15 years old, and she says, I really try to go outside on the bicycle rides with him, to go to theaters, read books with him and everything, but as soon as I leave him alone, the options are, all of his friends play computer games online. He comes outside to the yard to play, there's nobody. So, he's kind of like 14, 15 years old, but all of his friends, they are just playing computer games, So that's the hard part. But there's no, if you want to go outside, but there's nobody there anymore. That's the struggle also.
What about devotee kids? They're not there.
They also play computer
Yeah.
games. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. So the way to begin is to, as a community, to become strong. Yeah.
That's what we can.
Yeah, we as a community to become very strong. So they know that the parents of every child, they're doing the same thing that my parents are doing. And they have support. Right? They have support within the community. That's a good place to start. Good, very good place to start. You can't even get that now in temple communities. But if you can get that accomplished, it's a very great success. And then, like I said, the second part, which is books of the bases, feeding that intelligence, giving them that inner strength through Shastra is also really helpful. It's not just what I believe in, or what I'm saying, but what Shastra is saying. The kind of life which is very nice. They become attracted, their hearts become attracted. In other words, they get the higher taste, And it happens, believe it or not, it happens. And even though they're exposed, somehow or the other, the devotional process protects them. It protects them and it gives them the higher taste. It takes a little time, and it really helps if the community is all together and strong. You could perhaps all the parents can come together and talk about it. Why not? And I think it will work, right? And then that leaves the school. So if they have good support at home, it's likely that at school they're going to be stronger. You see?
Actually, a lot of our children from this community are going to the local school, and the teacher said that the children from our community seems to be the brightest, and kind of the happiest, the jolliest, more than other kids around. So they are kind of a strong team.
Yeah. So it will also spill into their life at school, and then in other words, we have to have a devotional atmosphere where they live, which is easy over here, and then also, like I said, in the philosophy, so that they can understand. Because children, especially at a certain age, they become very curious, and they need their questions answered. They need their questions answered, because their question is, why are you doing this to me when other parents are not doing it? Why are we different?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the identity crisis that we are trying to solve, as they grow up. To give them the faith, why they're devotees and they're proud to be devotees. See? That identity, faith in their identity as devotees is very important. And again, that happens when we do extracurricular activities, when we are making presentations to the outside world, when we are sharing Krishna with others, when children take leadership roles in sharing Krishna with others, whether it's book distribution, whether it's Harinam, whether it's making presentations, in school programs we used to do. So imagine all this is building that faith, Okay, I'm different, but I'm different because I'm a devotee, and I'm proud to be a devotee.
Besides, they have chosen to be devotees even before birth. They just forgotten about it.
Yeah.
You can always remind about that also. It's your choice.
Yeah. We don't want to see our children lose their faith and get into materialism after some time, We want to keep them as devotees.
I have a question. How old are your children now?
Well, they've got their own children, so they're in the late 30s now.
Do they also want to teach their children the way you teach?
Yeah. Because they feel good about themselves,
So they teach
who
you
they are.
also the same way?
Oh, yeah. Homeschooling, yeah.
Did you teach them also all these things like maths and everything? You teach yourself,
Mathematics.
Yeah, when in the early ages, it's not difficult, right? Basic math. And later on, you can get tutors. You can get people to tutor. That's not difficult. But here, I don't know, but you can hire somebody to, or some devotees can teach, other devotees can teach, or you hire a tutor, but that comes much later. In the beginning, for many years, you can teach. It's just basic elementary math. Right? It's only when they get into calculus and all these things, then it's harder.
Interesting. Like the kids are like their kids is 5 years old. Today we were like working and he was asking any lila, like one lila, another lila about Krishna. He likes to listen. I said I never stopping listening. I like so much. But when they become teenagers,
then
then what to do in that age?
Yeah, because they lose their taste for it by then. So that's the whole principle, is to how to keep them, make sure that the taste remains, that they still have the taste. That's the whole point, right? As a community, we have to do things, but also individually we have to do things to keep their interest up. And a lot of it depends on extracurricular activities, what you're doing, in terms, because there's so much passion. Energy, right? How to engage that energy in many creative ways. How to engage that energy. Because unless we give them an alternative to engage their energy, naturally they're going to be drawn into these things, especially if they're going to school. So we can't, we have to engage them. And we have to engage them in very, very creative ways. Music.
Is it possible then?
Yeah.
No.
What about, music, jamming sessions, and then there's a youth group. And they're very modern. They've been exposed to life in London and all that. But yet they're devotees, these kids,
My father and mother not possible create such...
So you don't think Prabhupada's process it's not going to be possible? It can be. It's very, Prabhupada didn't mean it just for the first 20 years after he leaves or something. He meant it for all time. For at least 10,000 years.
Prabhupada has his child, yes?
He's what?
Srila Prabhupada have own child.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
What's the example of his child?
What is the example of his child?
They're not
Yeah, that happens. Prabhupada's life, his childhood, his life, it's not material. He didn't come, came from the spiritual world. So what I'm saying is, the life of a pure Vaishnava like Prabhupada, you can't see it in a material sense, And the other aspect is that, that was Krishna's plan, how he left his home and blah, blah, So I'm saying that, but it's possible, our own children, there's a lot of things that go in it, the guna, the karma, and all those things. So we don't have control over how our children come out to be. We can't control that. Ultimately, it's up to Krishna, but we do our part. If we do our part, then Krishna does his part, we just surrender. But I know one thing from my own experience, it really pleases Krishna to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. And when I started reading it and my own experience is something I know there's no process which is better than that. Prabhupada gave us everything to the very detail of how to raise children. And we may not be perfect and we may not get the 100% success. But is there any loss? Is there any loss? If you stack up the odds in favor of materialism, there is a chance that these children may still end up being a devotee. You give them everything material. Give them a materialistic way of life, just like any other kid out there. Even then, there's a chance they may end up becoming a devotee. Maybe something happens. but chances are very small, right? Because you've given them so much materialism. Now think of the other way. You've given them a lot of, devotional things. And it's possible they can just reject it and say, forget it. I don't need this anymore, what to do with it. But the chances are better that they can come back to it. Because you've given them the taste. There is no such thing as neutral upbringing. You either give them this or you give them this. But if you give them this, the spiritual side, chances are better that even though they get distracted, they're going to come back to it. And you've pleased Srila Prabhupada and you've pleased Krishna. You've done your best. You've been sincere.
So at least we can try.
Huh?
At least we can try.
Yeah, we can try.
There's no loss for that.
Maybe in case of Prabhupada, maybe Krishna arranged that he would renounce easier.
Yeah.
Because wife also sold his books and kids.
Yeah, I mean, Prabhupada's life looks very ordinary. Exactly. When you read Prabhupada's life story, it feels like, ordinary, Oh, this happened and that happened, the kids were telling. But the life of a Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava, is not something you can take it as ordinary, We know that behind that is Krishna's
This
life.
actually is also an example. He was raised by a spiritual father. Then he became sort of as if a materialist with materialistic wife and children and a job at the pharmacy. But then he came back to spirituality, he got himself a spiritual master, and look what happened after. So he had this break where he kind of tried as if to do material things, but then at the end...
Yes, same as with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, yeah? All kids, very nice.
She wanted to ask a question. No?
The question was
Oh, okay.
answered.
Okay.
And once, maybe I don't know, like once our daughter, she was like complaining. We used to, when they doing something wrong, we used to punish them like removing gadgets, taking out and not giving. Like 1 day or even stronger, 1 week. Will not get any gadget. And then of course we made rule that like if you will chant japa, that will be like kind of a release, And first time she misunderstood. She was complaining like, why you forcing me to chant japa? Like somehow. I said I was not forcing. Japa was like relief, like from sin, like for punishment. And then she agreed.
Like a payoff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do this, it's bad. But if you chant japa, I will get back the gadget for you.
Well, then once you get the gadget, forget japa.
But of course, they get back.
It doesn't work because then once she gets what she wants, then forget it. Then she forgets japa, right? Yeah. It doesn't work. Yeah.
We wanted to make maybe japa is like kind of release of sins, like.
It seems like that to actually make the child interested in something else, we ourselves need to be really interested in those activities that we do with them. For example, if we go outside to show them nature, we have to be like, wow, look at this flower.
Yeah.
So really show like, wow, mom, it's so exciting. So it must be something like so cool. And like gadgets, if we are so excited ourselves about the gadgets, we expect kids not to. That's stupid for us.
Yes. That's true.
So maybe first of all we need to train that love for something else in ourselves first too.
Yeah, we have to set a good example.
Set a good example, yeah.
That's very good.
An emotionally positive example.
And maybe still our society, even worldwide, it's not so strong. Maybe in sense of giving alternative, like movies, like animation movies, or a lot of things which can, like, it's not so bad thing if it would be everything in pure Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
We're trying
use
to
that,
make some cartoons now, at least.
but maybe
have
not mature and not even not enough material support maybe for making movies, making.
But the point is that, like I was mentioning earlier, even the medium itself is bad. Just spending your time on screen versus a book versus some other activity, that is bad. That's the point. It's not about making so many movies so they can always be watching Krishna conscious movies. The screen is so addictive that once you get on the screen, you're going to end up watching other movies that you shouldn't watch. So the point is to try to get them away from this gadget. That's the point. How to engage them in a way where they don't feel the need, the drive to, because what they're thinking, this is the only way.
So if Steve Jobs does it means there is a way, and he knows the good way. He's hiding it from the whole world.
Who?
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Because he says his kids are not using gadgets at all. They're surely not very unhappy kids.
No.
Yeah.
And there's 75% of the other kids in school also who are working from him. They also didn't use it.
So they have a different educational system for children. Parenting system.
And look that as much as society grows, the devotees society grows enough big, only then maybe it's something possible to introduce like Gurukul or whatever might be. Otherwise, with no association for the kids, they have no choice.
For the children, they are creative by themselves, by nature. By limiting, you don't give the screen time, what they do, they automatically switch focus to something.
Maybe
they create something themselves. They open a book, they read the book, they have Lego, they create something with Lego, they automatically switch to something they want to do. They want to learn through this process. Doesn't mean they need to constantly watch the screen.
I forget the term that these people who make these gadgets, they've done research that there's a downtime. The time when a person is free, where a free time, the downtime, and they know how they've taken away that downtime from society now, especially the children. Because this is the time when you are free and your mind becomes creative and innovative. You become very creative. And they've taken it away by these gadgets. They know exactly how to tap into that downtime, which leaves children with no downtime. You're free, get this thing out, start playing, do things. So what's happening is their creativity is finished. All that time when you're free, as soon as you don't have anything to do, like when children, the term that you use that they're bored, right? I'm bored because I have nothing to do, right? That is the time when a child is most creative. Because when you're bored, then naturally your mind will start thinking, what can I do? And in the old times, that was in the time when children would create things. All the discoveries and everything, inventions were happening during downtime. But that, they have cleverly, these people, makers of these gadgets, have cleverly taken away that downtime by tapping into that. And we have to be smart enough to see it and see that this downtime is the most creative time, and how to tap into that, how to encourage the children. There's so many things, right? Taking out a newsletter maybe for the temple requires so much skill. Practicing for dramas, newsletters, writing, if you think about it creatively, there can be so many things a child can all the hobbies that people pursue, excel in. There used to be a time when the family would come together and somebody would play the violin. Right? Now what's happening? Family comes together and just turn on the TV and everybody's watching. Right? So there's plenty. Krishna consciousness has a lot of things to do. Yeah.
So is it like that if we find strength in ourselves to take away the gadgets from children, because the gadgets are like drugs to them, they will start to have withdrawals. care.
Yes.
And for us also, but we might be stronger, we might just sacrifice ourselves and, oh, I'm doing this for kids. I'm suffering myself, but I'm doing this for kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that he is going